Hey YouTube, this is Practice Prepper. At the time of this recording, there's just about a week, maybe a little more, until the first day of spring, and man, you can just feel it in the air today. Oh, the flowers are starting to pop up. You can feel the air warmed by the sun, and the smell of the dirt, and the ice crystals in your eyes. There's a Margaret Atwood poem about ice crystals in your eyes. I don't remember the title of it though. Yeah, well, obviously we have a little bit of winter left here, and I thought I'd take the opportunity, I take the opportunity to share with you how to make a really cool hat, all by yourself. It'll be custom sized to fit your head. Oh my god! Hey YouTube, this is Practice Prepper. It might seem like the end of winter is a very strange time to be thinking about making a winter hat. You know, why not do that at the beginning of the winter? Now, the beginning of winter would be a perfectly good time to do it, but so is right now, because as preppers, we're always, it's always a good time to prepare. It's a great time to prepare for next winter with a hat, or the next financial collapse, or the next time aliens airdrop bird flu-infected clown zombies during their invasion. Always a good time to prepare. If you don't think that right now is a good time to be making your own hats, why do you hate prepping? Why do you hate America? So we're going to jump right in with a hat. And you might also be wondering, well, why a hat? Why not a coat or pants or any of the other things that you can make to keep yourself warm? Well, a hat is a particularly useful a piece of winter gear, because we all know that you lose 80%, we've all heard it, 80% of the body heat you lose through your head. We've all heard that before. It sounded a little strange to me, so I decided to run a test.
It's so cold, I'm bundled up, but I'm losing all the heat through my head.
I went outside wearing all my winter clothes with the exception of a hat, and it was very chilly out. So then I came inside, stripped down to nothing, put a hat on, and I went back outside, and surprisingly, I was completely warm because I was only losing 20% of my body heat through my body, but I was protecting that 80%. Okay, yeah, obviously that's like completely ridiculous. But we've all heard that you lose like, that's the figure, 80% of your body heat through your head. I tried to track it down where that came from. It seemed like it might have come from some old British military manual or something like that. Obviously, it's not true, but square inch for square inch, you do lose an awful lot of heat through the top of your head versus anywhere else on your body. Granted, the rest of your body you're losing more, but for every square inch of space, you are losing a lot through your head because the blood vessels are closer to the surface. There's less, body insulation and things like that up there. So wearing a hat is a great way, especially when used in conjunction with the rest of your clothing, to keep you warm through the winter. So we're going to throw one together just using some scrap fabric. Well, you could do this with like an old t-shirt or anything like that. I just went to the fabric store and I got some fleece, and I've already made a couple hats from it. You can see I've kind of cut out some other shapes from here before, but I think this thing was like 70 cents or something like that. It was like less than $1. It costs very little to get this stuff now. It's very convenient. And the first step is just to get a sense of the size of our head. And I'm going to do that by just wrapping it around my head the way I would kind of wear a hat. And I'm going to do it kind of loosely because, there we go, kind of loose. There's the circumference of my head right there. For all you phrenology experts, you can infer whatever you want to infer from this. The reason I do it a little bit on the loose side is because when you're doing the sewing process is naturally kind of tightening up the fabric, and the hat's going to come out a little bit on the smaller side, than what it would be, if the sewing process didn't kind of grab some of the fabric. So I do it a little loose so the hat doesn't end up coming out tight. So what we're going to do right now is lay this down and cut it into the proper shape to make a hat. Okay, so I've got my cloth laid out here, and I made a little mark over here where you can see that I took my circumference of my head, and I'm going to do a kind of an easy way of figuring out how to break this up into 4 quarters. Now you could use a ruler or something like that, but there's a quick, easy way of doing it. I've just got an old rubber band which is already broken, so I'm going to use it for this. It's pretty easy to kind of divide the rubber band up into smaller pieces. So we will make it in half, and then I'll take each of these and divide them in half. And then what I'm going to do is I'll just stretch it, and then I'll be able to make corresponding marks with these, and I'll have this broken up into quarters. But I'll need some help with that because I'm going to be stretching, so I need another set of hands. So, Amber!
Right here!
Amber and I have had a bit of a falling out.
What are you
It's been
talking
really
about?
awkward around the house.
What?
Well, that argument we had earlier. All right, so I'm going to stretch this out. And could you make marks that correspond with the little marks I put on the rubber band? Because I want to divide my hat into 4 quarters so that I can sew it up that way. So I'm going to stretch this up.
Okay.
Hopefully it doesn't snap. Okay, so just do a white mark over where the little black marks are. Okay. Okay, great. Get out of here. Okay, so Amber made a mark here, here, and here, which is over a white spot, so you can hardly see it. So I'm just going to make a. See, this is the problem with Amber. You know, it takes a white crayon and makes a mark on a white spot. So now that I've got this broken up into 4 different sections, what I'm going to do is turn them into little sections of a sphere. Now, if you've ever seen like a globe projection, sometimes it'll be broken up and there'll be a bunch of, curved sort of, leaf-shaped sections. And that's what we're going to use here. Now, you don't have to do it that way. You could just do angles and put it together. But if you just do 45-degree angles, there's going to be little bumps all around your hat. And this will help to make it actually kind of be a sort of spherical shape to go over your head. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is, I need a straight edge. I don't have a lightsaber right now, so I'm just going to use a pencil. I'm going to draw right up, coming from this side. By the way, I'm just using a regular crayon. It's a white crayon to write on here. I know there's special fabric crayons, soap crayons, and things like that. But I'm just using a crayon. It works totally fine. Will it wash off as easy as a soap crayon? Probably not. But A, I don't care. And B, I guess you could just put that on the inside of the hat, couldn't you? So I'm going to make a little line here. I'm just eyeballing perpendicular. All right. Little line there. And a little line here. And halfway through the hat, doing a little line. And then 3/4, a little line like that. And what we want to do is make each of these turn into a point up here. So what I'll just kind of arbitrarily get a length, maybe just a little bit longer than my pencil is what we use. So halfway between each of these lines, we're going to come up here and make a point. I'll make an X or something. There's one X. I'm going to lay halfway between these 2 lines here, and the length of the crayon added on to the length of the pencil. I mean, you could be using a ruler, but who in this day and age owns a ruler? I use my smartphone app, and with the recent EMP from Alien Invasion series, my smartphone's not working. Fortunately, all these cameras are though. And I do one more mark over here. All right. And these are going to be the apex of our little curves. Now, the next thing to do is to find out where we're going to start the curves from, because you want that to be a uniform place on here. Maybe I will use the length of this magic marker. All right, make a mark there. And this doesn't have to be exact. I mean, who on earth has a round head anyway? There we go. Okay. So now what you could do is that you could make a zigzag line back and forth to all these points, and you could, got a mark right there too, and you could sew all that together and that'd be fine. But like I said, it'd be kind of bumpy if you do it that way. I found that if you do kind of a curved arc, then it tends to work better. So I'm going to do a curved arc here to here, and here to here, and another one here to here. And you want them to come to kind of a point at the top. In fact, this one should maybe be a little bit pointier. You want these to have kind of a right angle at the top of these, because if you picture at the top of your head, all of these pieces are going to come together, and you're going to have 4 of them come together, and you want each of those to have kind of a square right angle. So actually this one was a little bit too rounded. I'll do this one a little bit sharper. All right, and start with my little 45 and curve. And curve. All right. So that's the basic form here. It looks like kind of like the top of a picket fence. We've got this, 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 and this. And we're not going to be cutting down these lines here. These are just guidelines to get us to these little points here. We're going to cut along this surface right here. Up along here to here, there, and like that. So I'll cut it out right now. All right, and there it is. So this is the basic form that we're going to use to sew the hat together. Now the first step is just take it and bring these two sides together. And we talked about the idea that maybe this would be the inside because it has some marks on it. So when you sew, usually sew things inside out. So we'll put this surface here as being the outside. So if while we sew it, it'll be on the inside. Our marks will be on the outside. And our first step, and you can see how inaccurate this is, how these are not exact, mirror images of each other, but that's totally fine. You can take it up in the sewing process. Our first step is going to be to sew from here down to here, or vice versa actually, starting here and going up to this point. Once we get that together, we're going to bring these two together and make a jump across to this side and continue.
Yeah, he's been really on edge lately. He keeps talking about these aliens that are dropping, I don't know, zombies infected with some kind of...
Amber! Get out of my chair. This is my sewing chair. Okay, so I've got the piece of fabric that we cut out. I got a needle and thread. I chose some blue thread. This is some stuff that I picked up at just a thrift store. It was actually a really good deal. I got this spool for $1. Normally thread is actually kind of expensive. If you ever have looked into like sort of stacking thread ahead of time to just have plenty of it, it kind of adds up. So if you can get it at a thrift store, used, I got tons of these things. It's a great way to go about it. So what I'm going to do is just start right here at the corner, and like I referenced earlier, I'm going to come along this edge up until we get to this point here. So we'll just start it right here first. Fleece is usually pretty easy to sew through, but I do have a thimble if I need it, because this is a pretty thick needle. I didn't go for a thin needle. I'm always dropping thin needles, so I like the larger ones. Okay, so to begin, I'm just going to tie a knot. So now we're ready to begin. Now, oftentimes, with a process like this, I think I am going to use my thimble. There's a thimble I got. It's just leather with a little piece of metal in the inside. Just makes it so I don't get punctured in my finger pushing through. Oftentimes for a process like this on my channel, I would speed things up. But this sort of a process takes so long, I think I may just cut the whole part out. Everyone knows how to sew. I've noticed as I've been putting this together that this side here is a little bit longer than this side here, and I need them to match up like that. So what I'm noticing is on one side there's a little extra fabric, and that's really not a big deal to take care of while you're sewing. And all you have to do to take up that extra fabric a little bit at a time is as you're pinching the fabric together is just give a little push. That's an exaggerated push, but just give a little push to the piece of fabric that's a little on the long side, and then pop the needle through. And then repeat that until the two sides seem as though they are beginning to match up. And that way you can spread out the difference in the length of the fabric over the entire section, so you don't end up with a whole bunch of extra fabric at the end. I've been doing that a little bit through here, and they're just about now starting to match up. All right, so I've been able to sew all across this arc, jumping over the gap, bringing the other two pieces up, all like that. So I got that all done, and the only thing that's left is now there's these two little holes on either side. It's kind of like a mask at this point. And all you have to do now is just sew up those sections. So I'm going to start here, sew right across that little gap, right here, and then we're done. Making a hat is really easy. You can make it out of just small pieces of scrap, and it is a really great way of keeping yourself warm in addition to all the other clothes. So I hope you find that helpful. Maybe make your own, custom fit to your head in any color you want. You could even do it with like strawberry shortcake fabric or Super Mario Brothers. That's it. Thanks for watching.
Please subscribe and tune in every Friday at 4:30 New York time for a new video. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can do so both through Patreon or PayPal.